Cool.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and joining me, as always, my intrepid buddy, my brother from another mother. Give it up for Sejohn Silverwick!
Buddy. that's like the fallback when you just don't know what to call
I
somebody.
almost called you a co-host. That's like the real
There it
truth of
is.
it.
There it is. But like you always fall back on buddy when you're like, "Hey there, guy.
Hey, friend.
What's going on?
I
You?"
was like real into that character, and then I'm like, I'm going to call him my co-host, and I'm like, no, I can't call him my co-host. I give him shit when he calls me his co-host. There was a lot of mental gymnastics going on right there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you
The
appreciated
layers. The layers.
it. So anyway, welcome back to the Say Report. We've already told you who we are. Thank you for coming back. Siege, what have you been up to, buddy? I'm going to pass the baton right to you.
Not too much. I've been diving really deep down an Adult Swim hole. After our conversation, was it last week or a couple of weeks ago?
Last week we talked
It
about
was
it
last week.
because of the fantastic, like it's still fantastic April Fools of Rick
Oh, yeah,
and Morty.
yeah. So I've just kind of been diving down this weird Adult Swim hole to try and find some stuff that I've kind of missed over the years. I never finished Metalocalypse. I I just found Brad. Hold on, wait a minute. I got to pull this up. I actually have this up so that I can say it right.
Brad Neely's hard
Nope, so close. So
Harg
close.
Narlin Scopio Peepo.
Oh, so close. Harg Nolan Sclopio Pipio.
Oh, Peepio. 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 It's a very different hook.
No, so Hulu's been really cool about doing some Adult Swim stuff, about getting a bunch of really good things up there. So I've just been trying to like catch up on my everything I've missed with Adult Swim over the last couple of years. I'm not in touch with the kids anymore, so
Speaking of not being in touch with the kids anymore, Adult Swim got me back into Dragon Ball Z, like
Nice.
hard, like real hard.
with the re-edits that they've been putting out,
Yeah,
or
the Dragon
like,
Ball Z
yeah.
Kai stuff. Because
Yeah.
I'd never seen past the Cell saga, because that was where I'm like, I'm done with you, show.
No shit.
I can't watch an entire fucking week of
So
a
wait a
guy
minute.
powering up.
Frieza is after the Cell Saga, right?
No, Frieza is before the Cell saga.
Frieza leads into the Cell
Yeah,
stuff.
and
Is
then
that
they
what it
get
is?
back to Earth,
Okay,
and
okay.
in their time gone, the androids have come, and the whole Dr. Gero thing is going on.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Dragon
Because
Ball.
yeah,
Man.
especially because after Cell, there's the 7 Years of Peace that leads into the final Boo saga.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, so that whole thing, like I didn't know anything about Boo. I was just like so tired after watching the Cell saga, because it was like one of those shows where like I came home every day after school and watched it, and very rarely did the plot move forward, which is fine. but like,
That's putting it lightly. Very rarely.
Yeah.
You needed about 6 episodes to get any type of like progression.
yes, and even then, like the progression that would happen would be like maybe the first punch would get thrown. But I saw this and I'm like, you know what? I didn't watch any of this great Saiyaman stuff. I'm going to watch it. And I am loving it. I've watched 14 episodes of the Dragon Ball Z Kai, and I had to hunt down the 14th because I forgot to tape it because I was at a comic convention this past weekend, and we'll get back to that. But so I had to
Bearing
hunt
the
and
lead
peck
there,
for
yeah,
it. Yeah,
okay,
no,
that's-
don't worry. That's a thread we'll pull later. And I love it, and I've gotten so into it that today I downloaded the Game Boy Advance game that's based on this season. So
Oh.
it starts with the Great Saiyaman saga and then like goes into the Boo stuff, and I played it until I was caught up with where the show is.
Nice.
And then I saved it. I did a save state, and like after I watch the next episode, I'm going to keep going. Because
amazing.
it was so cool, like knowing what happens, like getting to live through it as those characters,
Well,
which is
and that's
just
like-
crazy.
And that's one of those things that we don't always get with anime over here. You know, that's like a big part of anime that we're just completely missing. Is like the whole zeitgeist of anime over on the other side of the world is insane, right? Like you're playing video games as you go along, you're reading the manga as you go along, you're buying into the toys and stuff as they come out. Over here, it's like we're getting things in like weird waves. And so like we don't get to be part of that whole moment. So that's really awesome that you're actually recreating that for yourself.
Yeah, and I'm loving it. Like I'm so into. I love Videl, Mr. Satan's daughter. She she has like reinvigorated the show for me because it's another like human to care about, and
Yeah.
like watching and those first Great Saiyaman episodes. I understand where like the 8th graders that I was talking to when I was in 8th grade about
Yeah.
this show were like, this is stupid. Because, like, that whole thing is just like friggin' Degrassi Junior High, but in the world of Dragon Ball. So, of
Yeah.
course, you're like, no, when are they going to fight? But then, like, as an adult, I'm like, this is really nice, right? Like, it's not all about fighting otherworldly threats. Sometimes you slow down and you fall in love, and you show how love blossomed between two people.
It's
And it
almost
really
like you
worked for
prefer
me.
something more complex in your older years.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's my revisit to Adult Swim. Like, I never did a Metalocalypse or anything like that. And, like, sometimes I wonder if I should, especially considering, I enjoy Brendan Small's other things.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm glad that we both, like, let's jump into the Adult Swim machine.
Yeah, I think like because we said it last week, right? And so like I just started looking around and realizing that it had been a good 5 or 6 years since I'd ever gotten really into anything that they had done. But then it occurred to me that 5 or 6 years in Adult Swim time is like decades. Like there have been shows that have been birthed and died in the last 5 years that I've never even heard of. Like
I
yeah,
do
so I
not
went looking
doubt
for some
that.
weird stuff. I went looking for some weird stuff and I found it, and I was very, very pleased on that front.
Excellent.
But tell me more about this comic convention. you
Okay,
went to.
so in this is going to be a lot of lead up to this, and I apologize
Okay.
if you're listening to the podcast and you don't like lead up. I don't know. That's kind of what they're about. But so I've kind of been on like comic conventions and everything like that. Like I realized a long time ago that they were just sort of like flea markets, but like with a focused marketing group. Like we're marketing to a
Okay.
specific group. And I mean,
Niche flea market.
they're like,
I got
they're
it.
niche flea markets, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, I don't really want to pay money to go and like get the opportunity to buy things, right? And also the prices are higher and just the waves of humanity that are there. So I was kind of down on them. Someone got me tickets to PAX East. I want to say it was 2014, maybe 15. It was one of those. And I loved it because I just walked around and had a good time, realized I didn't need to buy anything. And I haven't recaptured that experience except Dale, because Christopher Lloyd was going to be at Wizard World in New Orleans, surprised me on my birthday with tickets to go to Wizard World New Orleans, which was happening on January 6th, so 2 days after my birthday. So on my birthday, here is your plane ticket, here's your Wizard World ticket, here's the hotel. We booked everything for you. You and I are going down for this.
Woohoo!
And it was this great because Dale, same mindset. I am here to have a good time. I'm here for the experience, but I don't necessarily need to buy anything. So, like, I will make fun of people in the costumes with you. And, like, I'm not making fun of people in costumes because, like, if you're a cosplayer, I salute your dedication to what you're doing. I could never walk around in what must be uncomfortable clothing just for the sake of a character that I love. I know that I don't have the mental fortitude for that. But, like, when I see someone walking around, like when I see Superman and he's walking around with Spider-Man and, like, they're clearly a group, I'm like, those two would never hang out. Like, even though they're both heroes, and even discounting the fact that, like, there have been crossovers, I don't think that Spider-Man and Superman would get along. What are they going to talk about, the newspaper industry? Who wants to do that in your off time?
I'm going to step in for a second and say that I don't think this constitutes making fun of anything.
Oh,
really.
but let me tell you though, I'm not quiet about it. It's not like I sit in the corner and I'm like, those two would never hang out. I'm like, hey, you two, you would never hang out in real life. What are you doing?
Be friends. Stop being friends.
Like, come on, put some thought into it. You obviously put the thought into the costume. Why don't you build a world for it?
Save room for the holy canon.
Now here's the thing. Let me be honest with you. If those guys were dressed as Clark Kent and Peter Parker, I'm sold. I'm totally fucking sold. If Peter Parker and Clark Kent are walking around, I'm like, I get it. That one makes sense. They're both in newspaper. But Spider-Man and Superman, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Oh,
my
you
God.
wear blue and red? I wear blue and red. Let's be best friends. Nope. Actually,
That's actually though. That's Spider-Man actually really hates it when people try and wear his costumes. Like that is like
he just
says
hates
that.
it when Deadpool tries to wear his costume.
That's fair. That's because most
But
of the
like
time
no,
it's
so
the way
like,
it
but
is.
I want to be snarky and I want to have fun. Like it's a place.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's where I enjoy these conventions. So I go to Wizard World. I see Christopher Lloyd talk, and it's amazing. Tom Wilson is also there. So it's Christopher Lloyd and Tom Wilson who do this huge Q&A, and it was just this amazing experience. And I shared that with people that, like, I'm, like, sort of back into the convention thing. I don't want to spend too much money on it, but, like, if I can get into one and just have a good time, shut my brain off for a day, I'll do it. So one of my friends, Emilio, I tell him about this. He's like, I've never been to a comic convention before. I'm like, oh, we should totally do it. So I found one that's 20 minutes from where he lives. It's about an hour from where I live. It's in Marlborough, Massachusetts. And we go. It's called Super MegaFest. And I know nothing about it. Like, I just see that it is a $30 ticket for a Saturday admission. And I'm like, and I'm in. $30 is the perfect price of admission.
Yeah.
So I end up going. I invited Emilio said that he was bringing his wife, so I brought along a friend too. My friend Laura came because she had never been to a comic convention, and her father like wrote comic books for a while. Like he did the Phantom daily strip in newspapers. So
how has she never picked up a comic book then?
I mean, I don't know. It's just like some people aren't interested in it. Like it's just not a world that you're interested in. But like there was this moment where at the convention and there's a guy who has this big sign that's like the Lee Falk original Phantom collection. And like he had like original like prints of the early Phantom stuff. And she like, it like was weird for her because like you grow up in a house and you see that. And then she's like, this is so cool. Like this is what my dad worked on. So, like, that was this awesome moment for her. Plus, she, like, really fangirled out about the celebrities that were there. And let me tell you, $30 ticket, Will friggin' Wheaton was there. Nice. I got to see a QA with Will Wheaton. Got really dark. That dude's got some, like, I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then he's like, if I had the choice, I don't think I would have gone into acting. And I'm like, oh, damn.
No.
Growing up on Star Trek
ruined me.
Growing up on Star Trek The Next Generation, it was like having 9 extra parents. And sometimes they were better than my biological parents to me. And I'm like, oh, God, Will Wheaton, like, you have a good life now, right? I'm listening to Hamilton coming over here, and it just gets me crying. And I have a lot of stuff going in my life right now that I want to cry about. And thank you, Lin-Manuel Miranda, for helping me do that. Like, this is the stuff that Will Wheaton is talking about. And I'm like, oh, God. I did not expect. I thought maybe board game puns. Maybe.
Damn it, Wesley.
So, yeah. So, it was that was fun. Barry Williams was there, a.k.a. Greg Brady, which I think more than Will Wheaton, Laura, like, fangirled out about him because she's like, oh, my God, it's Greg Brady. And I'm like,
oh, God.
That's crazy. Oh, my God, the fringe on Barry Williams, Sejohn.
Well, I mean,
for days.
He's got a lot more sex appeal than Will Wheaton.
Also, Barbara Eden, who at 86 is still a fucking knockout.
Amazing.
And then Lonnie Anderson is there, and I can't look at Lonnie Anderson without going, in Cincinnati, WKRP. So, like, it was just this super cool experience. Like, I just had fun. Also, Sam Jones was there, a.k.a. Flash Gordon. And Sam Jones and I, we had a bit of a run-in in New Orleans.
Oh.
Where, like, we were not at the convention, and we walked by each other, and I go, hey, Flash Gordon, what's up? And he gave me a look like, go fuck yourself. Nice. Calling me Flash Gordon. And even Dale's like, yeah, his name's Sam Jones. I don't know who the fuck you think you are, calling Sam Jones Flash Gordon. And then, like, there was this rare moment where there was nobody at his table, and I'm like, hey, I kind of put my foot in my mouth when I saw you in New Orleans. I just want to, like, we're cool, right? I know you're Sam Jones. And he's like, yeah, and he gave me a big thumbs up. So it was like this cool experience. So, like, I guess the thesis of this whole friggin' story is that I'm back on the convention train. Like, I'm willing to give them another chance. Okay. Because if you go to make the memories, it's fine. If you actually go to try to buy stuff, and I think that might have been the issue, is the last one that I really went to that was comic book themed was when I got back into Ninja Turtles. Not that I ever fell out of love with Ninja Turtles, but I was like really on this kick where I'm like, I want to get all of the original comics. Yeah. So I thought that, like, oh, this will be a good comic convention.
See, but you went as a buyer. You didn't go as a fan.
Exactly. I went as a buyer. Right. And like, Kevin Eastman was there, and it was the first time I met Kevin Eastman, and I had, like, met Peter Laird a bunch of times beforehand. And that was really cool because he's like, oh, you know Pete, you know Steve, and we like drank vodka at his table for a little bit, which was odd. And then like
Awesome.
Michael Dooley was there, who was another like Ninja Turtle guy, and he's like, hey, I know you from Steve's shop, so we got to hang out and talk. So like those fan moments happened, but like going there as a buyer, like looking to find Ninja Turtle stuff, because if you have Kevin Eastman there, you're gonna have targeted marketing.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh my god, issue number 4, right? Like an original printing of issue 4 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The guy wanted like $350 for, and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna pay it. As much as I want that, like that's too much money. Like you're trying to take advantage of the fact that Kevin Eastman is 3 aisles over, and
Right.
thinking that someone's gonna pay that money today. And no, I can't do that. Like I really don't like exploitation, and that is what I
Yeah.
feel. And that's
That was like if it was signed and at a convention like that, but the idea was, well, you can buy it and go and get it signed.
so
And that's
here's
like,
the
no,
whole thing.
fuck you,
So
it's not done yet.
and then so like here's the mentality, right? And some people have this mentality, and I think it's what sort of bothers me with the collector's market anyway, and what really weaned me off of it. So thank God, like I was able to finally see the forest through the trees. That guy is expecting you to spend $350 on that comic, right? You go over to Kevin Eastman. Now, at the time, he wasn't charging to sign stuff, right? But now I'm pretty sure that he's like charging like 20 bucks for signatures, because that's just the going rate. And so
Right.
and people are willing to do it, right? So then you're at 370, and then you have this copy of the book that was in pretty good condition, right? Like based on the condition, I could see like maybe $200 on it, right? That extra 150 was because you're going to be able to get it signed by one of the creators today.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then the next thought is, right, okay, so I got part A of this fetch quest. I bought issue 4. Part B, I got it signed by Kevin Eastman. And then part C, I'm going to go over and get it graded because, you know, authentication is there. Like, I don't know
Right.
the company that does it. But if
But
I
it's at
don't
the
get
ready.
if I don't get it graded today, if I don't go over there today, then there's no guarantee that it's actually Kevin Eastman. Because it's known that he is there, you can get it graded that same time. Or like there's other things where like you'd need to take the comic, go to the authentication people and be like, I'm going to go get this signed by Kevin Eastman. Can you bring an agent over for me? Here's $100 for you to grade it. That person comes, stands in line next to you, and then watches Kevin Eastman sign it to make
That's
sure that there's no
insane.
fraud. Like it's this it is an insane like side quest of your life in order to get proof that something happened. And like I don't need like, you know how many books I have signed by Ninja Turtle people? I have like I think I have a Coke bottle that Michael Dooley just drew a bunch of turtles on because he was bored and he's like, I want something to draw on. And I handed him the Coke that I was drinking.
You remember when we drove to New Jersey to go see
Kevin Smith?
Kevin Smith,
Yes.
right? And we got there and we had all this shit to get signed, and I had realized after everything that we had bought at the store, after everything we had brought with us to be signed, I actually hadn't brought anything for myself. Everything was for other people. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit. So I like took my jacket off and had him sign my jacket.
I had Kevin same exact thing, right? Like I had an original draft of Mallrats that I wanted him to sign. Like that was my holy grail. But then I'm like, well, if you're just signing jackets, why don't you sign my Tribulation Force backpack? Because I had stopped at a Christian bookstore earlier in that week, and on special was a Left Behind 2 Tribulation Force messenger bag for
I
$1.
remember that bag.
That bag, right? Now, just point of reference, not in addition to having been signed by Kevin Smith, wow, arrow pointing up to the title, has now been signed by every member of the Ninja Turtles crew that I have ever met. That has become my like little autograph bag.
That's
And
amazing.
you know what? I could not make any money off of that. There's no proof that it's any of those actual people who signed it. And that bag
Gotta
is
get that
just
shit
like,
authenticated.
no,
That's what
man,
you
that
gotta
means
do.
so much to me because it just exists. And you know what? That Kevin Smith thing, even if you didn't get your jacket signed or if I didn't get my bag signed, we met Michael Bowen that day,
We did.
which was awesome.
And you called out some asshole for calling him Donkey Lips,
Well, that
right?
was the thing, because he's like, I'm like, hey, Michael, it's really great to meet you. I love, it's cool that you're here. And I'm like, are you just here like as a fan? And he's like, yeah. And like we had this real conversation. And then someone else was like, "Oh, hey, Donkey Lips," and he's like, "Yeah." And then he went back to talking to us, and it's like, yeah, right. Like, if you
Yeah.
know this guy's actual name, he's gonna be willing to give you time. If you call him by a character he played like 7 characters ago, oh yeah, hey. That day was also cool because after we went through the whole signing, Jennifer Schwalbach, aka Mrs. Kevin Smith, like pulled us aside to talk to us.
I know, and I didn't realize who it was, so I started
know.
talking to her about I talked to her about like waiting in line and how cool it was that we got to meet Kevin Smith, and then she's just like, "That's great." I walk away, and you're like, "You realize who that was, right?" And I was like, I've never wanted to like slap myself so hard.
You know what the real embarrassing thing about that is? And I'm just being honest with you here, Siege.
That I was hitting on Kevin Smith's wife?
No,
What?
the fact that you were hitting on Kevin Smith's wife, of course, that makes sense, right? It's not like she's not also known. She appears in
Okay.
Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and she had also just had a pretty prominent part in Clerks 2, which had come out earlier that summer. So the fact that you had no idea who she was
I didn't
was
recognize
like
her. She was just this hot woman in the
so
comic
delicious
stuff. I was like,
for
why
me
would
that
I
I'm
not
like-
talk to her?
But like we also had like a nice conversation in addition to the fact that
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, like it's great that he's doing this and the line, and you're just like treating her like a regular person. And again, that's where you get it. Like that's the honey over vinegar in meeting celebrities. From what I found, is if you don't like act like a crazy person, they're more like willing to talk to you.
I mean, I also have my crazy person stories. Well, someday we'll have to have Kevin Tebow on to verify a couple of different stories about me acting like an asshole in Providence when like different celebrities have come through. Jessica Simpson and I can never look each other in the eye ever again.
Whereas Tyrese Gibson and I shared like a real moment. Also at Providence. God.
Also, if I ever see Fred Durst, I'm going to choke that man.
Oh, why? Because he did it all for the cookie
Oh, so
or the nookie.
Why did-
he did
why- I
it
was
for
gonna say, why
something
did you
that
clean
ended
that
with
up?
cookie. I
we
forgot.
suddenly not adult-rated? What are
When's
like,
the last time that you listened to Hot Dog Water and the Chocolate Starfish?
no joke. I got in a weird Limp Bizkit kick just before Christmas, and was like, you know what? I got to listen to a couple of things. And the second I got to the Mission Impossible 2 theme or 3 theme that they did, I forget
Oh, it's
which one it
definitely
was.
2. It's 2.
Wait, is it-
Because
is it
2
2?
is
I
the
thought
worst
Metallica
Mission
was-
Impossible movie for
Which one did
all the
Metallica do?
factors. I think
Metallica must have done 3.
I don't know. I mean, I might be wrong, and you know what? This will definitely we should definitely research this one. But I'm fairly certain that Limp Bizkit did Mission Impossible 2 because everything about that movie just upsets me.
Maybe it was like Fred Durst teaming up with Metallica.
Maybe that's it. Then, oh my God, Dream of Dreams.
John
Enter
Woo
Sandman.
directing
Tell
this
me I'm
movie.
not dreaming.
There's doves everywhere, and
He just loves climbing. That Ethan Hawke. He just loves climbing. Well, I will no word of a lie for you. We the cable, we have Verizon Fios, and we were watching, and the bumper very clearly said that Mission Impossible 3 was the movie. But I'm like, this is Mission Impossible 2. And my father's like, no, this is 3. This is Mission Impossible 3. It's the best one. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Mission Impossible 2 because Mission Impossible 2 starts with him climbing the rock wall. And he's like, no, he just loves climbing. Like, that's what Ethan Hawke does. like in Mission Impossible 3, he's like, oh, between missions, I don't climb a rock wall.
You need
Ving
to
Rhames
stop
can
calling
find
him
me.
Ethan Hawke. You need to stop it.
Ethan Hunt.
Ethan Hunt. You need to stop calling him Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hunt. I'm a big Ethan Hawke fan. The Before trilogy is cinematic perfection. But yeah, so, and then that convention, right? So $30 ticket, right? 10:30 to 6 is the main convention.
Okay,
and then
yes.
at 9 o'clock was the cosplay dance party. And let me tell you, buddy, that's when the real convention began.
Amazing.
It was adjacent to a hotel. The whole courtyard of that hotel was full of people in costume. That bar has never done as much money. They were giving out drinks left and right, mine included. I was just walking by and I'm like, I think I'm going to get a bourbon and Coke. And this grizzled little bartender goes, bourbon and Coke, right? Hands it to me and I go to give money. He's like, no, you're good. And I'm like, oh, okay. I did not actually speak to that man. I was bar adjacent, and a drink wound up in my hand.
Nice.
The costumes were amazing. There were two girls dressed as the two broke girls, right down
Nice.
to
That's so good.
authentic necklace on Carolyn,
That's
like
amazing.
show accurate. And I'm just like,
What a stupid thing to get so into. That's amazing. I
well,
love it. I
can I
love
tell
that
you why?
shit.
Because they must have thought it was some sort of creep. Because I'm like looking at the costumes and I'm like, this is real impressive. But then I'm looking at her décolletage to make sure she has the necklace because like that would really seal it for me as awesome cosplay. And then the second I saw it, I'm like, congratulations, you just won cosplay for me today. And like, yeah,
I think I'm the perfect audience for this level of fan stuff because like I love watching people put together shitty costumes that like just for the love of it. You know what I mean?
oh dude,
Like there's a convention that actually happens here at BGSU that is the week before Anime Boston. That's its own little anime convention out here, and every year it's the week before Anime Boston. And like the kids on campus put together just these like awesome like cardboard, like it's beer boxes is what they've got all over themselves, but they put together cardboard costumes and weapons and shit like that, and I'm fascinated by it. It's amazing. And then like I remember being in Boston during Anime Boston and PAX and all that weird stuff where like every now and then you just get bubbles of people that would just get onto the fucking tea in like in costume and Pokemon costumes and stuff. I love all of that shit.
PAX East was going on last year's PAX East, and I was going into the city for something else. And there was a Link who had a full Lego Hylian shield, and I'm just like, I'm impressed, but like fragile. Like that's gotta be
don't
super
take that
fragile.
Out. Don't take that shit out. Oh man. Although, can you imagine a sword made out of Lego? That would be the pointiest sword ever
Oh
created.
my god! Don't step on that sword. Yeah, so it was a really good convention weekend, and I have some
Good.
other stuff. But like before we move away from comics, do you have any other comic related things to add?
Oh man. Well, I've been actually trying to get into some more DC movie stuff. A lot of the things that you were talking about last week with the special that we want to do got me thinking about like the DC Universe WB movies that like I care about.
Okay.
Like we're gonna do a whole thing on the live action stuff, so I don't want to get too deep into it, but spoiler alert, I don't like many of them. And we'll talk.
You and
But
most of the population.
so I don't want to surprise anybody, but so like I started thinking about like the ones that I do actually really get into, because I do think there's actually some really good like filmed versions of these things. And there's the whole Arrowverse thing going on CW that I love, but trying to look at like compact stories that just are like, here's just a movie, beginning, middle, end, and trying to find like which ones of those that I really kind of hook into. I realize more often than not, it's these DC animated ones that they're doing. They get me, like those get me so much better than any of the live action stuff that they've done. I mean, even the Nolan stuff, like God, I love it, but like I had some issues with Dark Knight Rising or whatever the last one was, right? And like
The Dark Knight Rises?
Rises, not Rising. Yeah. So
that might be my favorite.
I like it, but like I've got
for Bane. Yes.
But I think what it was seeing that one pointed out the flaws in the rest of them to me. And so like you might be right. If I really sat down and thought about it, that one might be my favorite one out of the three. But what that one did was it really made me see the cracks in like all of what was going on.
It's a peek
with the
behind the
stuff.
curtain, definitely.
Yeah.
Like that is the one where like you're like, oh. Ooh,
this is how he constructs every movie. This is how he overblows everything. This is how he So like it started to really kind of like push the whole like I love Nolan as a filmmaker, but he's definitely not in my top, like
speaking of which, Dunkirk PG-13, what up with that?
Yeah, considering the way they've been pushing everything about that being so realistic and warlike, which is the exact reason Saving Private Ryan fought for an R. Anyway.
No. Like that was just supposed to be a brief digression. Trust me, we're gonna see Dunkirk and talk about it.
Yeah. So I started thinking about the animated ones that I really love, and because I gotta tell you, number one favorite Batman movie of all time to date still has to be Batman Under the Red Hood, the animated straight to DVD one that they did about 5 years ago now at this point.
Fair.
It is just phenomenally done. First of all, I mean, they bring back as much of the cast of the old animated series show as they can, with a couple of changes. One of which is John DiMaggio as the Joker, which is like a phenomenal turn as the Joker, and the other is they bring in Jensen Ackles to play. Do I give it away? I guess I give it away. To play Todd Red Hood, like
Jason Todd, the Red Hood.
Yeah. So like. It was weird for a second because I was like, oh, the twist of the movie. But then I realized, oh, but this is actually like, it's like saying Bruce Wayne's parents die. Spoiler alert.
Whoa, Bruce Wayne's parents die? Is that why he's Batman?
So like Jason Todd's whole turn into the Red Hood is just this phenomenal like little, it's this perfect little movie. Like you learn everything you need to about why Batman does what he does, but also you see when he fails. You see all this like really great like complex stuff about every character. And like, you don't get that in any other Batman movie, right? Like every Batman movie is, except for Nolan tried to do it with like the Dark Knight and stuff, they don't really delve into like the complexities of what it is to be Batman. It's always just like, look at this goofy guy with too much money. Look at the next toy he's got. Look at the next toy he's got, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because films really, they want to make it fun. Like, it wouldn't be like...
And so that's part of the reason why I'm worried about the stuff in the new cinematic universe is they haven't proven to me yet that that's not what Batman's going to be, because that's all Batman was in Batman versus Superman, was just a collection of cool toys that we had never seen before, you know. But to be fair, they haven't done a straight Batman movie yet, so we'll see what they do.
You've seen Suicide Squad, right?
Yeah.
I think that the Batman, like, as small as that was, I think that was some of the character of like the Batman. Like, that made me feel like maybe a full Batman movie with Ben Affleck as Batman will be enjoyable.
Yeah. There was definitely more. There was more going on with Batman in that movie that I enjoyed
for
than
5 minutes than 126 from. There's even more, right? God, that movie is so long.
Yeah. But so I've just been diving back into that. So like I watched Under the Red Hood again. I've got Justice League Dark lined up, and I love the whole like dark concept. I love John Constantine. Actually, besides Batman, I think Hellblazer might be the comic line that I've read the most of. And with Batman, I've read like bits and pieces throughout history, whereas like Hellblazer I've read from start to like finish. Like consistently. I've read more John Constantine than anything else out of any other comic series.
So how do you feel about the Keanu Reeves Constantine film?
Oh.
You know what? That's a big question. I'll...
No, like I love Constantine, and so like I'm always pushing for that character to get more opportunities to be on screen. So there's this weird thing where like I really kind of find a lot of really cool stuff in that movie, with completely recognizing the whole time that it is a terrible representation of that character. Like there's really good concepts at play in that movie, but none of it is grounded in anything that character actually is. So if you watch that movie and you like it, that's fine. Just that's not what the comic is. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where I kind of wish they just hadn't called it Constantine. They just made it something different.
I get where you're coming from with that. I just curious.
Like, yeah, I mean, but it's not like going to a Batman movie, and when they screw up a Batman movie,
you get Batman and Robin.
Well, but when you screw up a Batman movie, it's like, well, there was really nowhere else to go with it. You had to do what you had to do with Batman, right? Because you look at Batman and Robin, and you're just like, that shit's goofy as hell. But if you look at the product of the time,
well,
like it is what it is.
If you want to talk about like the best representation of what Batman from the media was prior to 1989, that is a fantastic Batman the series, like Adam West type movie. Right. Like it is as campy as that show is. Mm-hmm. Like of course you'd be like, I got the credit card with Batman on it.
Yeah. Batman makes more public appearances than Bruce Wayne. Yeah. So there's this weird thing with those kinds of movies where like you kind of just can't. If you can't do Batman, then don't make a movie. With John Constantine, like I love Constantine, but also there's a lot that it pretty much made tropey as hell. So like you could just give me a show about a magician that just does some bad shit, and you could use Constantine as like your like jumping off point, but like basically do whatever you want at that point, and it's going to be an interesting show to me, you know. Like I'm willing to go much more flexible with that sort of stuff, I guess, you know, because I mean like think about like you get things like the Dresden Files, you get like there's a whole bunch of stuff that has come out that is like edgy magic stuff since then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so like Constantine is this weird thing that nobody ever seems to be able to get right, but gets it right enough that it stays kind of in everybody's mind. Because even the show that came out a couple of years ago, at this point with Matt Ryan, was like the show just didn't go anywhere, and nobody really wanted the show to stick around. But now Matt Ryan has become like a really big like like recognizable face for Constantine, to the point where he has played him on Arrow and has also done his voice in a couple of animated things as well. Like so like so like they love the show enough to recognize Matt Ryan as this amazing version of Constantine, but not quite enough to keep it on the air. So like anytime I can get some John Constantine in my life, I'm in. So I really want to watch this Justice League Dark movie. So I'm excited for it because the DC animated movies always tend to be really good. Like I was just watching Wonder Woman that they made like at this point almost a decade ago, but the animated version of it,
right?
with Nathan,
Fillion's
with Nathan Fillion as I was going to call him Steve Rogers as
Steve Rogers is fine. Everybody knows who you're talking about.
yeah.
Because Chris not Chris Hemsworth.
Evans?
The Kirk. Isn't Kirk gonna play him in the movie?
Yeah, exactly.
What's his name in real
Chris
life?
Pine.
Chris Pine.
Yeah. Oh man, just
There are too many Chris's in the comic book world. I'm just being honest with you.
Too many handsome men in my head right now. I need to get them all out. But like, so I was watching the Wonder Woman movie a couple of weeks ago, and it's this phenomenal representation of her as this Greek character, but also this comic booky character. Like she does a lot of really good goofy comic book stuff, but also the entire story is grounded in actual Greek mythology. That I'm nervous about the live action movie coming out. Like it seems like they're really just going to stick to some baseline comic book stuff just to get her out there to people, and like that's not the fun of Wonder Woman to me. The fun of Wonder Woman is the way that it plays with Greek mythology. So we'll see what it does with that. But like the DC animated movie already exists for me, so I'm just gonna keep watching that. But I really like New Frontier that they did, the Green Lantern movie that they put out, all sorts of really good stuff. Better than Marvel. I think Marvel's straight to DVD animated movies have been kind of blah for me.
They definitely have been lacking. Like I was gonna say, I think the last one that sort of worked for me, I really liked the next Avengers because it was more of a departure.
Nice. With the kids and like old Bruce Banner and stuff like that.
Yeah, like that was cool. But
yeah, and like I think part of it though is that DC has a really good grounding in doing this sort of stuff with the old DC animated shows. You know, the whole thing owes its life to Batman the Animated Series, really.
Yeah, well, they have the pedigree. They have a pedigree that says if we're going to animate something, you're going to want to give it a check. Okay. Where like I think the best, I mean, you can disagree with this, the best received animated Marvel series would be the 90s Spider-Man.
Yeah, or X-Men. 90s X-Men is also up there too.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know.
I mean, Spider-Man was definitely like huge in the 90s. Like I won't argue with you on that, but I do know that like X-Men was like.
I mean, X-Men is the one that hit. Like the reason why X-Men became the force they became in the 90s was because of that animated series.
Well, and I think the big thing is that X-Men probably was the bigger hit business-wise because let's be honest, there's just more toys to sell.
That's true, what I mean? And they got the movie first. Right. I struggle to say that because I feel like that show was more flash in the pan. Where like Spider-Man, I felt like went on forever.
Yeah.
Like when someone told me that there were 4 seasons of X-Men, I'm like, get the fuck out of here, really? Like I feel like I only saw the same 3 episodes. Well, the Morlocks are upset, Morph is dead now, and Archangel. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, man. But Marvel had its time on the Saturday morning stuff, right? But the thing about the DC thing was like they were doing something like important with their television shows. And I mean, like, no, not to shit on Marvel. I mean, I think they've come around full circle now. And now Marvel is doing like really cool, artsy, important things with its movies in a way that DC isn't. So like what goes around comes around. But I feel like at the time DC was like, no, let's like create some characters and tell some stories. Because like some of the most iconic things that we know about Batman actually come out of that series. Harley Quinn wouldn't exist without that series.
Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze, I'm sorry. But his whole backstory, like that he's there, he's fighting for his wife, is from right? Comes from the very first episode of the animated series.
Yeah.
Like but that's what they led with,
and then that goes on to be the first Batman animated movie actually in theaters. Right, it was Sub-Zero, and then there was Mask of the Phantasm.
Phantasm came first.
Oh, okay, Phantasm.
And that was going to be my argument. Was like I've never seen Beneath the Red Hood or Under the Red Hood. Mask of the Phantasm is such a good movie.
It is.
And that
it really is.
And
No,
because
I mean like it's again one of the best Batmans I think that you can see. Like representations of Batman you can see is definitely Mask of the Phantasm.
so I would like from you. This is truth. After the show, I'd like some recommendations from you. In
Okay.
addition to Under the Red Hood and this Justice League Dark and the Wonder Woman, because every DCU animated that I've seen, like the direct to DVD ones, has
Hmm.
been garbage. I have
Which
only seen three.
yeah, which one have you seen?
Superman Doomsday,
Oh,
which
that's yep.
was just I'm just like, whoa! Thank God I only bought you for 50 cents at Job Lot. And then Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, which someone gifted to me, and that movie is just like they throw so many characters in it. So like it's
Yeah,
fun
I was gonna
naming
say
all the obscure characters,
yeah,
but
Public Enemies is this weird one that hit right after one of the big Batman ones had come out, and like they were really trying to push Superman as well. So what they did with that one was they basically, like you're saying, pumped every character they could into it just to make it like this shotgun effect of let's see who they like the most.
Power Girl is there, and I'm like, well, I don't know why. It's just, and it's like, that movie upsets me. Like I'm upset that I still own it, and then like if I'm ever like not like upset, like I think things are getting too good in the world, I watch it to like remind me that like no, there's still terrible things out there. um, and then of course like most recently, Batman: The Killing Joke.
Oh,
Last year, I saw it in
yeah.
theaters at a special event, and it is just like once it gets to the Killing Joke, it's a pretty like it's a fantastic adaptation of the book, like panel for panel recreation. But before that, they add like a whole 45 minutes of Batman having sex with Batgirl, and it's awful.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
awful.
Bruce Timm has this really weird. For those who don't know, he's one of the big forces behind the animated series stuff at DC, and he's had a lot of sway on the universe. So like he's kind of an important dude and has done some decent stuff, but he's also got this really weird tendency to really want to make Batgirl really be in love with her with Batman. Because if you remember, he was behind Batman Beyond, and in that, Barbara has become the chief of police. And it is hinted at in that she has had a romantic past with
In
Batman at some point.
Return of
Well,
the Joker, which is
yeah.
another just stellar Batman. Like
Mhm.
Phantasm
Yeah.
and Return of the Joker are like really good, but I don't even count them along like the same ranks of what you're talking about, like these straight to like Flashpoint or these other ones that like were once Marvel started making movies, DC's like, oh, we can't do the live action, but let's do some like more
Yeah.
adult themed animated stuff. In those, like all of those that I have seen, and again, I've only seen those three, they have really missed the mark for me. Whereas those two nailed it. So it's just such a weird disconnect.
Yeah, like Flashpoint is a really good example of one that just kind of works for me. It's really well done. It's just not my favorite because being a Justice League movie, it kind of suffers from what you were talking about a couple moments ago. There's just so many characters that it just can't ever sink its teeth into one character long enough.
Right.
Which
Which
is
I
a shame.
guess is like sort of a way to saying that both of us have that same fear about the Justice League movie coming out this
Yeah, yeah.
very year.
Well, and what's a shame about Flashpoint is that as somebody that read the comics, like one of the big things about it is actually the way that it explores Flash and like the way that he deals with the changes that happen and the way that he causes them and has to fix things and all this other stuff. So like there is a character that it can latch into, and they go out of their way to get Michael what's his name? From the one that played him on Justice League and the guy that played Lex Luthor in Smallville. Michael
I can't think of his last name, but I know who you're talking about.
So they go out of their way to get him to even come back into play to play Flash and everything, and they just don't go far enough in Flashpoint. It's good. It's just not as good as I think it could have been, right?
Michael
So
Rosen
there's like
something?
yes, Rosenbauer.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Michael Rosenbauer. We're going with that. Yeah. So like the DC animated movies are definitely hit or miss. Like you have to be careful with all of them because they are straight to DVD and depends on what animation house and what writers and all this other stuff that got behind this particular one that they pumped out, right? But you know that there's these ones that have come out that have had a lot of work behind them. So the thing that was really disappointing about Killing Joke is that it was one of those ones that you could tell they were putting a lot of work behind. It's just all the work they were putting behind it was just in the total wrong direction. Because when that movie came out, it was just so disappointing because everybody fan wise knew that it was everybody that we wanted to be working on it was, and then when it came out, it just didn't work.
It.
So like
Oh my
that
god.
happens. That still happens. But that's the nature of I feel this straight to DVD nonsense of doing this is that you find yourself in a place where hey, it only costs $300,000 to put this version out, so let's do it that way. And then what you get on the other end is a cheap version of your film.
That's true. And also, they recoup that money like nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
So it doesn't cost them anything to take those chances and to just pump something out and see if it works. Yeah. But there's definitely a few of them where they've put the effort in. Like I said, if you look at things like if you prefer something more than just Batman, New Frontier is a really good example. Wonder Woman is a good one too. New Frontier is phenomenal because it's basically like recreating the beginning of the Justice League. It's so good. Yeah. What's the one with what's the one where Earth One kind of
is it
starts
called
to take
Earth
over?
2?
I don't remember,
Like,
but James
I was trying to
Woods.
think of one because I'm like, I could see a cover that like was involved with the Hurl or Earth 2 thing, and I'm like, I don't remember though.
But crazy old James Woods from your neck of the woods comes in to play Thomas Wayne in that one. I
Really?
think. I think it's Thomas Wayne. I'm trying to remember. Or the Bruce Wayne from that Earth. I forget exactly what the story is there. But he's the Batman that comes to like destroy them all.
I could see that. I could really see James
Yeah.
Wood being that, especially the way that he's been represented on Family Guy. He
Well, the
just
way that
seems
he's
like a
been
bad
represented on
dude.
Twitter now. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, you don't wanna look that up. It's just gonna make you sad and make you run to Cranston with a torch.
Oh,
Um,
but yeah, so that's good. I'm glad. And I'm looking forward to hearing how you felt about Justice League Dark. I really am. And you've given me some ones to check out. Like the Wonder Woman one has been playing on the premium cable channels, and I'm like,
yeah.
maybe, but like, I don't know.
I have to say, I actually enjoyed it more now than I think the first time I saw it because, like, I remember when I first watched it, remembering that one being kind of a slow burn, like not much what goes on. But actually, watching it now, I was like super into like the setup for all of what happens in the second half because she doesn't get to our world until like 30 or 40 minutes into it. Like it takes a while for them to get to that.
Well, like the
And
more I hear you talk about it, the more I think of Thor, and I freaking
Mhm.
loved the first Thor movie. Like if
Yeah.
they're actually going to do more of the exploration of her Greek heritage and where she fits in with Greek mythology, that's what I loved about Thor. And I understand why Thor is like sort of the redheaded stepchild of
Right.
the Marvel universe because people don't really care about that stuff. But like Norse mythology is my favorite mythology.
Yeah. And to be fair, like just to set the record straight, I do think they're going to delve a lot into that sort of stuff in this movie. I just think that they're going to have to change some things around to make things happen in a way so that she can get to the Justice League ASAP and that there can be something for the Justice League to do in their movie. So I think they're just going to have to tweak some things in a way that is just going to it's not going to be a fun like deep exploration of Wonder Woman. It's going to be just set up for Justice League.
All right, so like we're placing bets right here, ladies and gentlemen. Sejohn thinks that I think it's going to be a huge deep dive into Wonder Woman, a la Captain America: The First Avenger. I think they're just going to do it's going to be all Wonder Woman, and then at the end it's going to be like, and now you get to stay on Earth and be its protector, be you and love it.
Mhm.
And then it's just her connection to the Justice League movie is strictly going to be what was built from Batman v Superman.
Oh, they'll do an after credits scene too or
Well,
something,
of
or like a
course,
mid
but I
credits
think
scene.
it'll
Right,
just
right,
be
right.
like that. Like, I think you need to head over here because it looks like some trouble is brewing. Like,
Yeah,
I think
right.
it's going to be one of those like in the timeline pre Batman v Superman. Which I'm going to be honest with you, my favorite part of Batman v Superman was seeing what Bruce Wayne was doing during the attack on Metropolis by the Kryptonians and Zod.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I'm like, this is great because this is exactly why. All I had to say was that, like, all right, so if Batman exists in this world, right, which you've
Yeah.
already said he's going to be in the next movie and he'll have been established, why the fuck wasn't he at Metropolis? Why the fuck wouldn't he get involved? And then they're like, yeah, he was involved, right? But he didn't have his toys.
Yeah. So he was too busy saving everybody that he could.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man. Like there are so many things about Batman versus Superman that I do love, which is why I hate it as much as I do.
That's a
There are elements of that movie that I love, and there's so much potential in that concept that just makes me sad. Just makes me sad.
I feel. But no more talk about that. With our last few minutes, I'd like to give just a little roundup on the video game stuff I've been doing, if you'll
Yeah,
indulge me.
we could finally talk about video games again.
Someone told me, like, you guys got to get back to video games. You did it. You did an episode without him. Now get back to it. And I'm like,
Now
okay.
you're done. Now start talking about it again.
So if you listened to last week, I had my Legend of Zelda tournament. I've completed 2 of my 3 matches. I lost both of them. The first one was only by 27 minutes. The second was by about an hour and 3 minutes. So, good first run, terrible second run. I couldn't find the hook shot to save my life in that second match, and that's all I needed. I beat everything that I could without the hook shot, and then I still didn't know where it was.
Oh,
So that's
that seems
fun.
like not fair.
Well, it's part of the
Boo.
game. That's how the randomizer works, right?
Did
Like
you
if
ever figure out? Did you ever get told where it was?
No. I found it on my own.
Oh,
The
okay.
problem
you
was
did
that,
find
like,
it was just...
so the way that the randomizer works now, it also randomizes. Link to the Past. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but in case the listener isn't as well, the first 3 dungeons you fight, you get pendants that allow you to pull out the Master Sword, and then the next 7 dungeons you get crystals. The randomizer now puts the pendants and crystals into the mix, so like you might beat the first dungeon like chronologically and get the last crystal. So all of the 3 of the dungeons that had pendants, I'm like, well, I'm not going to go there unless I have to. So I went and I got all 7 crystals, and then it turns out the hook shot was in the last pendant dungeon I went to.
Oh.
So it was just like I did not explore in the proper path to make it work well for me.
All right.
Like I hoped that with the logic and the routing that I was getting, that I would find the hook shot somewhere. And then I'm like, well, maybe I just don't need it. And then like, oh no, it turns out in Ganon's Tower you need it. And you only need it for one moment. Like actually. Like I did everything I could in that game without the hook shot. But then to get from the final platform where you fight the boss that leads to the final boss, it requires the hook shot to hit the chest that it unlocks when you beat him. So that was fun. And the other one, it was just I was playing the guy who like does logic and routing for the game, so I'm okay that he beat me with only a 25-minute differential.
Oh man.
So, but I have my third one of that coming up on Thursday. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to check in, that's at I believe twitch.tv/speedgaming. But if you go to twitch.tv/FoxZero, I'll have all the links and stuff in my title for the stream. So would love to have you there if you listen to the Say Report and you want to see me try my last Zelda, which, if I'm able to win this, there will be a 3-way playoff because everyone will have 1 win, 2 losses.
That's awesome. Oh, shit.
So,
okay. Yeah. Well, we got to check it out then.
So let's, this is a big one. This is the big one. And also, last night, I got I got a message at 8 a.m. on Saturday asking if I would be able to do Arcade Pit the next night at 8 p.m. Now, I had originally had a Zelda match scheduled for that time. Well, I could be telling you about all 3 Zelda matches, but I was able to reschedule it. So Zach Dyer from Board with Friends and myself appeared on Arcade Pit last night.
Awesome. How did that go?
Well, we lost.
No.
But
All
you know what happens, right? It's going to happen. But we mounted a fantastic comeback. You can go watch the game, but they're tweaking some portions of the game while the tournament is in session. And one of the things that used to only be worth total 30 points is now worth total 60 points. And the other team got a double point when they landed on that specific game. So they got 120 points for getting that one question correct. And that was like the 3rd round of the game. So the whole game we were fighting a 120 point deficit. And in the end, we were only like 30 points down.
Sounds like video games has really been screwing you over this weekend.
Dude, like even the host of Arcade Pit is like, you guys have had the unluckiest board I've ever seen. Because like part of that game is, you remember Nick Arcade? Like that's the best way to describe it. Is that you got the 4 Ps, the points, puzzles, pop quizzes, and prizes. We landed on no points. So, and the other team landed on like plus 5 points, plus 10 points. I think we may have landed on 1 plus 5 points, but like most of their points came from landing on the board.
Ugh. That sucks, man.
You know
Well,
what
all right, but you
happens.
guys put up a good fight. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, we had a good fight, and like at the end of it, the host Smite was like, I'd love to have you guys back because like that was a well played game. Like I really wish that like you guys had come back because like watching you close that gap throughout the entire thing was awesome. So
That's
like that's
awesome.
cool. So we were invited back. So maybe more Arcade Pit in the future. Who knows? But video games have not been friends of Devon Decker, even though I've had fun playing it.
It's
Right?
because you've ignored them. It's
No,
because you've
don't do
ignored them,
that. I have
Devin.
not forsaken. Why have you forsaken us, Devon? I don't know, Mario. I'm sorry.
Those moments when you looked away, I could not be with you.
But yeah, so I mean, it was a good time. I had a really good weekend. All in all. Also, I got a new mattress, right? Because that's what this is about.
Awesome.
Oh, it's so comfortable.
Why did we not lead the show with this shit? New mattress.
No, because that's lame, right? You know what?
No,
You know
that
why?
is
You
the
know why we didn't
best.
lead with it? Because I'm like, I have been sleeping on the same mattress for I'm gonna say 22 years. So like, I was in dire need of an upgrade, and I'm a little embarrassed that I
Like a
slept
new
on that.
man now?
Oh my
Is
god,
that what it is?
dude! I
You should be, by the way, but yes.
Let's talk about the fact that like so Thursday, oh my god, we didn't even talk about this and we're not going to talk about it, right? There's just no, I'll talk about it. Screw it. I saw Bowling for Soup on Thursday.
What the hell? Okay. Oh my god. Why did we just add another half an hour to this show?
Oh,
All
I'm
right,
so
let's do
sorry,
it.
but because I forgot about it because so much happened to me this weekend. Um Dale was like, I really want to see Bowling for Soup, and we looked it up, and there were like a bunch of venues, and tickets were stupid expensive. But then Brighton Music Hall had one $25 ticket, and they're general admission, so we buy them. We figure we'll get there early enough, we'll get good seats.
Yeah, you'll just do what you got to do. Yeah, man.
So we go, and I ended up getting like I had a root canal done, and on Thursday, uh, crazy. Last Sunday, right? I woke up and the cap had fallen off. I was choking on the cap, the temporary crown for the root canal. So like I called them to like schedule a time to get it in. They're like, we can't get you in until Thursday. Luckily though, because it took until Thursday, the permanent one had already come in because they told me that I wasn't scheduled to have the permanent one in for another week and a half from last Thursday.
Oh,
So
man.
like I'm thinking that they're just gonna replace the temporary, and they're like, oh no, we have the permanent, so we're gonna like do everything we need to do to give you this permanent root canal. So like I got like a stupid early morning appointment. Like I was in at 8:30. I figured I'll get to work like an hour late. I didn't walk out of there till 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and I'm not feeling great because like I just
Yeah.
had dental work done. So I'm like, I'm gonna take the day off and we can just head up early. Turns out my dad had Thursday off too, so the whole family headed up to Boston. Even though two of us only had tickets for Bowling for Soup, and we made a whole day of it. We went to Smith and Walensky's and had this beautiful meal, like nice $40-$50 steaks that were just delicious. We got nice and drunk because we're just riding the train over there, right, to stand in line. And then we stand in line, and like there's about 20 people ahead of us, but we still we're right up against the gate, and we're behind the sound guy, right?
Oh,
So
that's a
like
beautiful spot.
that's where you want to be, right? Because you're not going to have camera people there because they don't want pictures of the back of the sound guy. No one can be around him, right? And we're apparently removed it back enough, so we're not going to bother him. So we have this beautiful view of the stage.
Well, and then on top of all of that, he is mixing the sound so that it sounds good to him,
Him,
which means that you are in
exactly.
prime position to hear the entire thing perfectly.
That is correct, Sejohn. And then even then, though, I'm going to blame the acoustics of that hall. Like nothing sounded good in Brighton Music Hall. I'll say that. I just think that like the drum was too heavy, like because all you could hear were the drums, and I'm like maybe that's because I'm close, but also like in a mix like that or with the acoustics, like you can compensate for that. Like the vocals were very washed out all night, but it was a crazy concert to the point
Awesome.
that like they did like a really slow song called Turbulence. I don't know how what into the Bowling for Soup discography you are. I don't know if you know the list, but
a thing or two.
it's a slower song, and Dale was super happy that they were doing it because, of course, we can also see the set list right at the beginning because there's a set list on top of the mixing board. So we're like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this is going to be a good show. So that song happens, and it's, like, nice and slow. But this guy behind us the whole time was like, oh, I was at a bar before this, and I ran into the lead singer, man, and it was awesome. And the whole time Dale's like, then what's his fucking name? You ran into the lead singer. Why don't you say his name? Why don't you use his name? So that was fun. She
Oh
didn't
my
say that to
God.
him. It was under her breath to me, like, you know, if you really saw him, you'd think you'd know his name, right? I'm like, I didn't see him, and I know his name. So, like, he, like, was very adamant and, like, animated the whole time, and he got thrown out by security. And I don't mean thrown out as, like, I mean that in the sense of the verb. Like, they stopped singing the song, and Jared, because that's the lead singer of Bowling for Soup's name, goes, I'm sorry to stop. Like, I've never stopped in the middle of this song. Like, it's going to be hard for me to get back into it. But they just literally threw a guy out of this building.
Don't fuck with the bouncer in Boston. I mean, what do you want?
No, exactly. So, just super good show, like real high energy. The opening acts weren't super great, but one of them did Prisoner of Society by The Living End, which is like one of my favorite punk songs from my youth. So Dale and I were just going nuts on that song. Only people in the audience singing along for that one on like the opening band. But
Excellent.
like, I got to tell you, Bowling for Soup, go see them. Great show. They've been together for like 23 years, and they still put on a hell of a performance.
Yeah,
like,
that's
full of
great,
energy, and just, it was fucking amazing. So I didn't get home until 2 a.m. on Friday morning, right? And then the next day is I have to work, and then I have that Zelda race. And because it took me like 3.5 hours, I didn't go to bed again until 2 o'clock. And then I had that whole day at the comic convention, right? Which my day started at 8 o'clock, so I could go pick up Laura and then head over to Comic-Con to get there when it opened at 10:30. And then we didn't leave Comic-Con until 2 o'clock in the morning. So let me tell you, at Comic-Con, like, I'm on the dance floor, I'm like trying to have a good time. There was a moment when my body just shut down. I'm just like, I'm not in control anymore. I need to go sit down.
Runners hit it all the time.
3 days.
That look on your face, like, I think I'm about to poo myself.
So I got home 3 a.m. It's Sunday morning, and I had the best sleep ever. And that is because I have a new mattress.
That's
like
amazing.
I don't usually sleep past 7 o'clock any day. I wake up, it's 11, and I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, never have you appreciated a new mattress more than the first time you have to sleep on it after not sleeping for 3 days.
Oh my god, like, it was gorgeous. And there's this thing that happens, right? Because I'm up at 7, because my parents are up at 7, right? We're downstairs and we're watching TV, and we try to be quiet because Dale is young, so she likes to sleep in on her weekends. But then, like, we're watching TV too, so if something crazy happens, like, we'll all have a reaction. And she always comes down the stairs on the weekends with this chorus, this beautiful chorus of, "You guys are so loud." Right?
This is a fantastic impression, by the way.
So that's like every time she wakes up, and she's like so angry at us. So then, like, because I slept the latest of the family and I can hear them talking, I come down the stairs to, "You guys are so loud." But they weren't being loud. But it was fun to be the decker who got to say that to the other ones who were already awake for once.
Oh my god,
dude!
Good times.
Good times. Great oldies. D101. So do you have anything else, Siege? I feel like I've really
No, I think ending on Bowling for Soup is a good way to go out.
Fantastic. As you can see, there's a whole lot of stuff to do before school start next fall. So stick with us, because Devon and Sejohn are going to discuss it all. Yeah, stick with us, because Devon and Sejohn are going to discuss it all. That's Phineas and Ferb, which is my Bowling for Soup. Woo, I'm on energy. Okay, so if you'd like the Say Report, come find us on Twitter at the Say Report.
Recording.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're still recording. If you want to yell at Sejohn about anything, which he behaved himself this week, so I doubt that's going to happen, he is at Siege versus the World on Twitter.
I am, and Devon is at Devon D. Decker.
So yeah, so come yell at me, because anything you didn't like this week was probably my fault. And without further ado, William, take it away.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.
Now I've got you in my sights. with these hungry eyes. One look at you and I can't deny I've got hungry eyes.